The Florida Gators are going to be explosive in 2025.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast and Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews of the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Thursday. It's almost game day. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. And like I've been saying, soon to be another written publication for my Florida Gators work that'll be coming out. But I do think that when we talk about explosive ability, that's going to be a big factor for offense and defense in 2025 for the Florida Gators. We'll talk more about the Long Island game tomorrow. And throughout the season, we will spend Thursdays and Fridays talking about individual games. But to be honest, Long Island has never won against an FBS opponent. Long Island's conference has never played against an SEC team. This is the one time I'm probably going to be as disrespectful as possible when we talk about, well, they don't have a chance. We're not spending much time on them. And if something does happen, then we'll have a whole different conversation. But I think that when you talk about this offense, explosive plays are what they're looking for. That's what Billy Napier has always wanted to get to. It's just been very difficult for multiple reasons throughout his time in Gainesville, even going back to Louisiana. Sometimes you just can't get the look that you're trying to get to, or you can't get the result that you're looking for. And I think that snake bit Florida a bit, snake bit really Billy Napier's offense a bit. But now it's different, right? Now you've got DJ Lagway, who as a true freshman was the best deep passer in the country. By the metrics, if you want to look at the film, he was still top 3 deep passer in the country. I think he was the best, but I do think that we'll leave wiggle room for deferring opinions from teams that don't like Florida pretty much, because when you're watching DJ Lagway, you can pretty much identify that you're watching one of the best deep passers in the country, if not the best deep passer in the country. And so having DJ Lagway back automatically means that you're going to be able to get deep shots off at different points, right? Part of it is because he's got this gunslinger mentality. I don't even like saying gunslinger mentality, because I do think that when you watch him play, you're just looking at someone who he's reading the field high to low, right? Like he's looking for the deep shot. If he thinks it's going to be there, then he'll take it, or then he'll hold it for a second and then try to take it. He's someone that is looking for those deep passes. And I've said it before, I think that his next developmental step is to take what's underneath. But one of the reasons that he doesn't take what's underneath often is because he's looking for the deep shot. And if he thinks he could fit it through a window, which I don't think there is a single open window that he can't fit it through. If there's a closed window, there's a closed window. But I think it's if it's even ajar, he's going to try to fit that ball in the window, because he's got the arm that can do that. He could operate with full arm arrogance and not worry about it, not care about it, not feel bad about it, because it's going to be incredibly rare when you hear DJ Lagway can't make that throw. And the only reason that you would hear that is that if it was just a bad throw decision-wise. As far as who's open, who's not, like, can you physically get the ball there? I don't think there's a single throw he can't make. In fact, screw that. There isn't a single throw he can't make. DJ Lagway has all the arm talent in the world. It's just about putting it together. You look at his, between the ears game, he's looking for the deep ball. That's what it is. Again, like when I've said that he needs to add the underneath game, I don't mean that you need to lose the deep ball. I think that you need to maybe identify, hey, this probably isn't going to happen sooner, and take what's there and live to fight another day. Because again, we're approaching a time in football where coaches, I still disagree with it, but we're approaching a time in football where coaches are openly, Ben Johnson, Chicago Bears, big analytics mind. And you can feel how you feel about analytics. I don't care. Has openly said, I'd rather you throw a pick than take a sack. You take a sack, we're going to have a couple more plays that are probably going to end in a punt. You throw a pick, we get the ball back quicker in position to actually make things happen. That's the logic behind it. I don't agree with it. But that's the logic behind it that teams are operating under now, or starting to operate under. Take the deep ball or take the check down if it's there rather than put yourself in crappy position, because we know that DJ Lagway can extend plays with his legs. But if the deep ball's not there, take what's underneath. However, he's looking for the deep ball. You can also talk about how you've got bigger bodied targets in 2025. Chim Dike, Elijah Badger. Chim Dike made the Titans 53-man roster. No other receiver coming out of the state of Florida can say they made it, which is interesting. Because another receiver coming out of the state of Florida was touted as, the most productive receiver in his school's history. Can't believe he went undrafted. And yet here we are. Interesting how that works out. Chim Dike made an NFL roster. Elijah Badger did not. He was part of the cuts for the Kansas City Chiefs. Neither of those guys are necessarily big-bodied. They weren't. You know who is a big body? J. Michael Sturdivant. You know who is a big body? Dallas Wilson. Neither of those guys were with the Florida Gators in 2024. So now DJ Lagway, looking for the deep ball, has bigger bodied targets than he had in 2024. Also have the tight end room, right? Hayden Hansen, giant human being, 6'7", 3/4. Tony Livingston, big, not 6'7", 3/4 big, but big. Amir Jackson, another big target at tight end. You've got big bodied targets now. And we've had this conversation going into the transfer portal. I remember having the conversation about DJ Lagway needing these big bodied targets, not for the same reason that Anthony Richardson needed them. I bring up Anthony Richardson because I spoke about this a lot when Anthony Richardson was with the Florida Gators, was he needs those big bodied receivers because, well, he has a big arm, but wildly inaccurate. DJ Lagway needs those big bodied receivers because he's going to put the ball where only you can get it. And if you've got the bigger catch radius than the DB, you're going to be able to make a play on the ball there. And so I think now you've got bigger bodied targets, going to be looking for the deep ball. Also, let's acknowledge two very important things. Really, maybe even three very important things here. All around the offensive line. The offensive line run game should be available. You've got an elite running back room. You've got 4/5 of your offensive line returning, including an All-American, including a guy that I don't think is going to be a first-round pick like many people talk about. I do think that he's going to be early-ish on day 2, though, in Austin Barber. You've got an offensive line that should be able to be pretty productive, right? In the run game, should be there. Tight end should contribute with that. Underneath passing game, screen game, should help you break out there. I think you've got, with just a change from Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon to Bryce Lovett, you've got a more athletic offensive line than you had in 2024. Still room to grow, but more athletic in 2025. Okay? So those two ways, running back's going to get more involved there. And then you've got the offensive line that should be able to give DJ Lagway plenty of time. You're still going to need to get the ball out quickly, especially against teams like Georgia, Texas A&M should have a strong defensive line as well. We know who's on LSU's depth chart, specifically at edge, so should have all day in that game as well. But I think that when you look at the offense, the deep passing game is going to be there. That'll open up the run game, or the run game will help open up the deep passing game. But deep passing game, explosive plays should be there, and also explosive plays in the run game as well. Explosive plays should be there for the Florida Gators on offense. Defensively, I don't know if explosive plays are going to be there, but I do know that they're going to try to create explosive plays on defense. We'll talk about that when we get back with Locked On Gators. Hey, Locked On Gators fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Weird. Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use our limited promo code football and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas that you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card from Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using our promo code football for a limited time 25% per gallon bonus. That's promo code football. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. And when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Also, it's that time where we have an important request for you with Locked On. Locked On wants to hear from you, right? We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, who you like, who you don't like, answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. And everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in show notes. Thanks for helping us out with Locked On, and thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, whether it's the podcast and on YouTube. And I've been talking a lot about the defense lately, where I think I know what the plan is, right? For Florida, where you look at the Florida Gators defense and you know that the defensive line is back. You know that the defensive line has Caleb Banks back. You know that the defensive line has Tyreek Sapp back. You know that the defensive line has George Gumbs back. By the way, year 3 as an edge rusher, year 2 in this defense as an edge rusher. Could see a jump. I don't know how big of a developmental jump you'll see, but you could see a pretty decent jump there. But I think the plan is basically just pass rush, disrupt, secondary, capitalize. And I feel like that's how a lot of teams approach defense in 2025, right? It's, hey, offenses, especially now, they're looking for the deep shot again. It used to be, hey, a bunch of us are going to just dink and dunk and try to work our way downfield that way. Now you see them look for the deep shot again. That's why we've seen the return to high defenses to force you to take what's underneath, where quarterbacks are looking for the deep shot. And people can feel how they feel about Ron Roberts personally, and even as a coach, right? One undeniable thing is that the dude can scheme up a pass rush plan, right? That's always been his calling card. Going back to Delta State, that's been the calling card, scheming up a pass rush plan, whether that's using creepers, whether that's using sim pressures, all the fun stuff, the buzzwords that we love talking about and that I feel like a lot of fans hate hearing about, because you generally think of Austin Armstrong and Patrick Toney, and those were not great experiences in Gainesville. And so you hear those words and you automatically hate it. But realistically, the guy that made them popular in modern football is Ron Roberts. He's a guy that helped implement those schemes, we'll say, into pass rush plans. The plan is to get pressure, right? Force bad decisions, let DBs make plays. That's it. It's last year we saw the rush 4 plan helped get a lot of pressure for Florida, especially once Caleb Banks took over. It was, hey, we're going to rush 4, drop 7, and our coverage is going to buy our pass rush a little bit of time. Our pass rush is eventually going to take over the game. and then we'll capitalize off those opportunities. And I do think that when you talk about this pass rush coming back with Jamari Lyons, who I don't know how great of a nose tackle Jamari Lyons is going to be on a larger scale. I know that I mentioned him being relatively unproven the other day, and I got a comment that was like, "Well, Jamari Lyons was balling when he was playing last." Not really. When he was playing last, he was playing well, not balling, but playing well, and that was 2023. Show me in 2025. And I'm not even doubting him. I think he's going to work out, but I'm not going to speak as if he's definitively going to work out when I don't know that. So I will say that. But I do think that regardless of how well he plays overall, I think Jamari Lyons, and I think everybody can pretty much agree, Jamari Lyons is going to bring more pass rush ability to this defensive front than Cam Jackson brought in 2024 or than Desmond Watson brought in 2024. They did their jobs. They were pure nose tackles that just ate blocks and let other people make plays. Well, in 2025, you're probably going to see opposing offenses take the approach of, we're going to double team Caleb Banks because they don't have their 400-pound defensive lineman now. So we're going to double team Caleb Banks, their best disruptor. We're going to keep a running back in maybe, or a tight end in. I do think running back might be more effective in some situations where you can kind of say, hey, Tyreek Sapp's going to be rushing against one offensive tackle. George Gums is going to be rushing against the other. Keep a running back in the backfield and let him kind of just try to see who he can pick up and slow down for a second, if that, and buy our quarterback some time. So I do think that all that to say, Caleb Banks is probably going to be double teamed a lot. Production might fall off. Film hopefully won't. But Caleb Banks being double teamed and potentially a tight end or running back helping out on either edge, that leaves two guys in one-on-one situations, right? That leaves the opposite edge in a one-on-one situation. And that leaves Jamari Lyons in a one-on-one situation. And so I do think that now when we talk about Jamari Lyons as a nose tackle rushing the passer, I think he's going to be a lot more effective than Cam Jackson was last year or Desmond Watson, because I think that he's more capable of creating in one-on-one situations. And so I'm really interested to see how that works, because I do think that we're at a time in football where interior pass rush is honestly prioritized over edge rushing there. And so quickest line from point A to point B is a straight line, or quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line right in front of your quarterback. That's a pretty good spot to get to. That's a pretty quick spot to get to the quarterback there if you do go in a straight line. And so I think that when you talk about that, you're like, all right, well, Jamari Lyons should be able to create there. I think that let's get this one out the way. Your jack, whoever is on the field at that time, whether it's George Gums, LJ McCray, Jaden Woods, Kofi Asari, whoever it is, your jack is going to be in coverage at times. Like you're going to see them there. Get over it if you don't like it. It's going to keep happening. That's one, what football is, but two, that's also what a Ron Roberts tree is going to do. Think about every person from the Ron Roberts tree. They're dropping their edges. And so I think that now you're probably better equipped in 2025 than you've ever been to have that jack drop into coverage. I think George Gums being your starter, I think he's pretty capable of operating out there. I think Jaden Woods is pretty capable of operating out there. I think Kofi Asari could. The one that I'm mostly skeptical of is LJ McCray operating in coverage. But again, early on in the season, LJ McCray not going to be available. So I think right now, your jack spot's better equipped to operate in coverage than they've ever been. Or at least, I want to say, screw it, I'm just going to say than they've ever been, because Florida's never had edge rushers drop into coverage at this frequency. And so I'm going to say than they've ever been here. So I think that when you're talking about trying to scheme up a pass rush plan, because you're going to have linebackers blitzing, Myles Graham, very effective pass rusher when he was given the opportunity. Pup Howard, very effective pass rusher when he was given the opportunity. You've got guys like that can rush the passer from an off-ball linebacker spot. You're going to generate pressure. especially if you're saying, hey, we're going to flood the A gap with Caleb Banks, Jamari Lyons, and Pup Howard. And we're going to have George Gomes dropping into coverage to the right side where the quarterback's more likely to get rid of it quickly. And we're going to have someone out there. Like you're going to put your guys in better situations to make more plays in 2025. And I think that's the plan. Pass rush, get home. DBs make a play. You look at what they've been recruiting at DB, especially over the past, year or two. You're looking at DBs that can make plays on the ball. They're looking for ball hawking guys that can go out there, say, hey, we're going to generate pressure, force the quarterback to throw the ball maybe a split second too early, force the quarterback to try to make a throw they shouldn't make, force them to throw from an off platform, which you're throwing off platform leads to more inaccurate throws. And we're going to let our DBs go make plays on the ball. That's what they've been recruiting. That's what they've been getting in their secondary. And if your pass rush hits home in 2025, which, by the way, sacks also going to count, forced fumbles also going to count for explosive plays. Like I mentioned, we're approaching a time where we have offensive coaches saying, I'd rather you throw a pick than take a sack. That means we have defensive coaches that are going to go, hell yeah, like go ahead. We're going to try to get those sacks because we know that that's what offensive coaches want to avoid right now. So we're going to even put further emphasis on generating pressure. I think Florida's going to do more of the same. We're going to talk about this special teams team. That's annoying. When we get back with Locked On Gators. College football's back, baby. We got a slate today. Couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There is absolutely nothing like a Long Island Sharks football game, let me tell you. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself half the time. You got to wait in line, virtual lines, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout all of a sudden with no real explanation. That's why I use Gametime. None of that happens. The app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. And what you see is what you pay. And I have openly said this. I use Gametime exclusively for concerts, games, anything I'm trying to see in person. I'm trying to get those tickets on Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and you should Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And this part is not so much about explosive plays. One, I typically don't expect explosive plays from a Billy Napier-led special teams unit. He seems to prioritize guys that are just going to secure the catch, secure the ball, retain possession. And I know that so many Florida Gators fans hate that because that's not how, at least that's not how I grew up, right? Like I'm 29. So I didn't grow up with, just make sure you secure the catch, right? When I think of special teams like that, I think of like Marty Mornweg, I think his name was, with the Jets. And I think of them having like Jim Leonard back there returning punts. It's like he wasn't really shaking people, but he was securing the catch, and that's all they cared about. I also dislike it. I understand the thought behind it. I do. Because I understand like, oh, hey, well, we put explosive playmakers back there and you're more likely to create explosive plays on the return game, but you're also more likely to fumble trying to make those plays. I'm fine with it. You know how I'm going to counteract the more likely to fumble? I'm going to put a guy back there that I trust to not fumble the ball. And I'm going to go try to return this kick or this punt for a touchdown because that's points. And I don't know if people know this, points win football games. Crazy how that works. But Florida, and we're talking about special teams here because we haven't really talked about special teams when we've talked about, the depth chart on offense or defense. But kicker, you're going to have Trey Smack. I know that there's a lot of Florida Gators fans that have soured on him for some missed kicks, but I also think that you're not looking at this the right way if you think Trey Smack's not a good kicker. Like there's no other way to put it. Think about his two biggest misses that people talk about. They are against Arkansas. Again, he was perfect from under 40. Bad coaching made that kick further than 40 yards. And in the NFL, 40 plus isn't automatic. College players are more volatile. That's always been how it is. That's always how it's going to be. They're younger, they're more volatile. They're less technically sound. They're going to be more volatile there. So I think that Trey Smack, perfect from under 40 that year, that penalty put him past 40. That penalty made it ugly. That penalty made it a missed field goal. Like, yeah, you could say he could have made that kick, should have made that kick. I would say could have. I don't think should have is the way to describe 40 plus in college. But also, especially with the wider hash marks, just want to throw that out there. But also, coaching's at fault for that. The Tennessee game, he missed a kick in overtime. Not mistaken. What happened on that drive again? Because if I'm not mistaken, it was a loss of like 5 on a swing, and then 2 pathetic plays that didn't work. So again, coaching made things more difficult. That's interesting. Trace Mack's a good kicker. There's no other way to put it. Like if you know special teams, if you know football, Trace Mack's a good kicker. He's going to be in the NFL. Okay. Tommy Doman at punter. Very similar production last year to Jeremy Crawshaw, who, if I'm not mistaken, was the only punter drafted in the 2025 NFL draft, was one of, I think, 8 Florida Gators to make initial 53-man rosters. Interesting. And Tommy Doman is replacing him. And I am curious, I guess, to see how Tommy Doman punts in Gainesville. Because warmer weather usually leads to the ball traveling farther. If I'm not mistaken, Florida's at a lower altitude than Ann Arbor, so that should mean that the ball travels less there. Do they offset? What are we looking at? I think that Florida, again, cares more about hang time and making sure that you're there to make the play than anything else. Tommy Doman, I'm looking forward to him being the punter here. Long snapper Rocco Underwood, one of the best long snappers in college football and has been. Very happy to have him back for another year in Gainesville and looking forward to seeing one of the very few long snappers in college football that are going to light someone up and then stand over them. Love that. Like, I love trash talk, so I love that. The return game, we'll see who it is, right? I'll say this too. Yeah, Florida's probably not going to put whoever you personally think is the most dynamic player back there. Probably not going to be. They're probably going to put someone that's a little slower, a little safer, more secure as a return man. I have one thing that I want to say and one thing that I want to see as far as return man goes. Just don't make it a starter or a significant contributor. That's my only request. That's the thing. I know that there's a ton of people who go, "Hey, just give me the fastest guy out there, the most agile guy out there. Give me Fenley Graham," right? There's people out there that are going to go, "Hey, give me Jim Leonard. Just give me someone that, while they might not make a dynamic return, they'll pick up 7 to 12 yards and they won't fumble and they'll take care of the ball." And I'm cool with that. My thing is just, I don't want starters back there unless it's, hey, time is running out here. Like, we have 4 seconds. We need to make a big play. We have a minute left and we need to try to get into best position to return this kick, whatever it may be. That I understand. I'm a Giants fan. They used to do that with Odell Beckham Jr. They'd say, hey, we're going to have a safer return man, but if we need a dynamic play, we're going to get Odell back there. That's fine. I just have a personal preference against starters and significant contributors being out there because those collisions are crazy collisions. And I'd rather not put starters and significant contributors in basically just saying, hey, you're going to go out there and you're going to get popped right now. That's it. That's all I ask is no starters. I'm probably going to be let down there. If you're the type that wants the Fenley Graham style, you're probably going to be let down there. But hey, who cares? Florida Gators football is back. I'm excited. You're excited. Going to start the season 1-0. Can't wait. Both rivals might start the season, or both in-state rivals might start the season 0-1. could be a good week 1 for the Florida Gators. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, whether it's the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about this matchup versus the LIU Sharks for Locked On Gators. I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon, and I will see you all next time.